say one of the chief incubators of this violent misogyny is a subculture of men and some women who call themselves incels or involuntary celibates. They mainly gather in online forums, finding common ground in their shared loneliness, hatred of themselves, and anger toward the opposite sex.
Women are just evil. You know what I'm saying? Women are evil, women are cruel, women are mean.
The group name that you've probably never heard of before, incels or involuntary celibate.
Now a new BBC documentary, Inside the Secret World of Incels, presents a never-before-seen look at this community online and off.
I think it's fair to say a lot of people have not heard of the term incels and have not heard about the incel community. I think it's certainly something that more people should know about because there is a risk.
Movement first began online in the late 90s. It was seen by many as a comforting resource, a place to belong for those who had no sense of belonging.
Whenever I see couples walking about, I'm happy for them, but at the same time, I'm also just like, oh man, I am so alone. It hurts a little bit. Forums can definitely be, very supportive. Having an online community to fall back on or to go to is definitely a source of comfort.
But are they really a lone wolf when they're operating in a community like this? It seems to be that they are part of something bigger here.
In the actual act itself, these men may be acting somewhat individually, but if we just focus on that action and that moment and maybe even his history, we miss this larger community that's reinforcing the beliefs that are underlying those violent acts.
Absolutely.
And that's a mistake.
For you stepping? Do I need to comb my...
This is me, wiping my clown ass makeup off after watching another one of my TikToks flop.
Chickens were one of the few animals that slaves could tend and raise. They took much pride in their chickens. And fried, it was also one of the few foods that could be taken on longer journeys while escaping. So a lot of you white people eating chicken in the current day, y'all's appropriating. Stop eating it, switch to beef. This is our food.
This isn't big enough to be news, but it's annoying enough to be a Taz Talk. Stepping now as a TikTok creator that's been on here for gosh knows how long. He's the gender study textbooks guy. You think you have a lot of reading? Well, I have to read my gender studies textbook. But everyone's giving so much attention to this guy. It's mostly women giving him a hard time because he's being stupid. Like in high school, which basically TikTok is, if there was an annoying kid in the back, would you try to ignore him first or would you blast him?
That they feel the need to insult me and exclude me from everything.
Excluded, scorned, and alone. Their frustration festering online in forums like Incels.me, 4chan, and Reddit's Brain Cells, where Alec Manassian has divided self-identified incels, involuntary celibates.
Some people are worried that their spaces are going to get shut down. Others are kind of reveling in the attention, and some are pushing for copycat attacks.
For years, Archie Mann has been tracking the angry online subculture he broadly calls the male grievance movement, a place where misogynistic and racist rants find a home among incels, a community that has struggled with relationships with women to the point of giving up, some even calling for retribution, like Elliot Roger.
You girls have never been attracted to me.
The California man who 4 years ago left a manifesto and chilling video before going on a killing rampage that ended in his suicide.
I think for sure the misogyny has been there for a long time. I think this kind of toxic masculinity that feeds off of an entitlement to women, to sex, is a big part of that, and that's quite universal.
Don't be unattractive.
This documentary tracks a group of self-described incels who meet online, then try to meet women and fail. The filmmaker agrees in rare cases, the online rage can turn violent.
It's sort of this mixture of like self-loathing and just frustration. And I think at that point, maybe they just want to see the world burn a little bit, punishing us for not seeing their pain.
Platforms like Reddit have taken action against incel forums, but new ones reappear.
We call upon the web giants to make sure that they counter any form of hate speech and any form of discrimination.
Given the anonymous nature of incel forums, it's unknown how many active members there are and if Alec Minassian was one of them. But police are investigating the connection. Vic Adopia, CBC News, Toronto.
The incels are part of a larger online group that's been called the Manosphere. These blogs and forums lament the plight of men, often by heaping blame and scorn on women. Aditi Natasha Kinney is a journalist who's looked into these groups, and she joins me tonight from New York. Aditi, we've been talking about incels a lot, obviously, in this country over the past couple of days, but this is a bigger community. What do they all have in common?
It's a platform for men's rights. Men's rights activists in general have an issue with feminism, with women's rights, and are often misogynist communities. Other examples are the Red Pill, which is a community of people who have taken the Red Pill from the Matrix and believe that pickup artist techniques are the only way to date women. On Reddit, the Red Pill has 250,000 subscribers. There's other ones as well, of course.
Okay, so it could be a lot of people on these platforms. How do we know whether they are just trolls or people talking, or whether they are about to become radicalized, violent people?
It's hard to know. It's hard to pinpoint when something turns from violent ideation into action. But part of it is the indoctrination on these communities. When someone is spewing hatred and getting that feedback from peers in these communities, the voices in their head start to seem even more real. It's very real to them that their sexual frustration is because of what they call normies, that is people who have sex, of people, the majority, the mainstream. So it's hard to say when that online radicalization can become a real life threat. But with Elliot Roger, you can see that he definitely had ample time to do that.
You yourself have been threatened for talking about this.
Yes, I have. The Vice article I wrote in November got me a lot of threats, and I was doxxed.
What have you noticed in the past couple of days on message boards about Alec Minassian?
I've noticed a variety of reactions, actually. The first one I noticed was like people being incredulous. They were surprised. They thought that he was not really an incel. They thought that the mainstream was trying to malign incels. The second reaction I saw was people afraid that becoming mainstream would mean that their communities would be shut down and examined. And the third, which was the concerning one, were people who were excited that he was one of them and that it was now time for revenge and to make...